Thanks to modern science, every day we open the veil of the mysteries of the metaphysical world more and more, the solutions of which amaze the imagination. One of the most shocking discoveries made recently was the phenomenon of the reincarnation of the human soul. That is, its transition from one life to another. Researchers have finally managed not only to prove the reality of reincarnation, but also to discover where exactly information about our past lives is stored, as well as under what conditions we can remember all this. Whether to believe it or not is everyone's business. But this information definitely deserves attention. The most authoritative expert in this field is the doctor of biochemistry and psychiatrist Stevenson. He has been engaged in a thorough study of this topic for 40 years, as a result of which he came to incredible conclusions that radically change our perception of ourselves and the world around us. In his works on reincarnation, he cited about 3,000 cases of memories of past lives, which, without exception, were confirmed by various experts. Stevenson conducted most of his research with children because he believed that it was their testimonies that convinced more of the reality of reincarnation than the reports of adults. This is due to the fact that children have not yet had time to read historical novels or watch films, fragments of which they could unwittingly give out as facts of their past lives. The most vivid case of memories of a past reincarnation has been carefully documented and verified. He is related to one of the sons of a famous Indian professor who was famous for his skeptical attitude to the topic of the rebirth of the soul. The boy in question was born in 1944, and when he barely learned to speak, his first words, along with the usual dad and mom, were the name of a neighboring town. This surprised the parents, but they did not attach much importance to it, assuming that the son could have heard this name somewhere and, without understanding, just repeated it. However, everything changed when, at the age of 3, he suddenly told his mother that she did not need to cook for him, because he already had a wife in one of the Indian cities, the one he named when he learned to speak. Then the boy declared that he owned his own biscuit factory in that city and asked to be taken there. The parents refused, and then the child began to talk more and more about his past life, claiming that he had once been a good businessman and died exactly 9 months and 6 days before he was born again. In the end, the father and mother of the baby could not stand it and took him to a psychologist, who advised them to take their son to that city anyway in order to end these fantasies once and for all. But what was their surprise when all the boy's words were confirmed? Moreover, without the guidance of adults and without roadmaps, he easily found the house in the big city where, according to him, he once had a chance to live. It turned out that relatives from his previous reincarnation still live there. At the meeting, the boy unmistakably called all their names and told the details of their personal lives, which he could not find out in advance. Then the parents and all those who witnessed this miracle had no choice but to admit the undeniable fact. The child really remembers his past life. Of course, a reasonable question arises. If children remember their own past lives, then why don't they share this information with their parents? The answer is quite simple. Due to their age, children do not attach much importance to such memories, since for them it is a natural part of the inner world. Therefore, they rarely distinguish them from the usual game of imagination. In addition, they still do not understand that things are different for adults, and when they themselves reach an older age, they no longer remember it. Thus, the child's perception of reincarnation remains a blank spot in the study of this phenomenon. And it's no secret that most adults will most likely dismiss such revelations from their children as nonsense. Stevenson was convinced that knowledge about past reincarnations can explain a lot about ourselves. For example, how does a person have any talent or even genius from childhood? In his opinion, this is a consequence of similar experiences in past lives. Stevenson often said, "People often ask me why I need to explore my past lives. I usually answer that this can give a clue to why a person commits certain actions, behaves one way or another in his current life, especially in cases when his actions suddenly begin to contradict his habitual character." Also, by referring to the memories of previous reincarnations, you can get information about the life task of a person in his current existence. Ian Stevenson believed that studying past lives was an extremely valuable form of treatment. Knowing about a person's previous reincarnations, it is possible to heal an ailment that has existed in him for many lifetimes. That is, to heal those diseases, the cause of which lies not so much in heredity as in his karma. By the way, regarding karma, Ian Stevenson noted that for some people, knowing their karmic history can be a heavy burden. After all, who knows who we were in previous lives? It is possible that someone has done terrible things for which he would be ashamed now. This is why some scientists and mystics claim that the fact that we remember so little or know about our past reincarnations is a kind of protection against self-contempt or excessive pride. Dr. Ian Stevenson has developed his own method that allows a person to remember their past lives. That's what he said about it. I am sure that using my method, people will remember their past lives as naturally as they remember what they did a few days ago. Another world-renowned researcher on the topic of past lives, the outstanding physician and hypnologist Richard Webster, argued that it is likely that the causeless fears and attraction experienced by a person to long-forgotten times or certain places may be related to events that occurred in a previous existence. Moreover, memories of previous lives can serve as the key to freeing oneself from these secret fears that hinder success in the current incarnation. While researching his patients, Richard Webster discovered that the events and traumas of past incarnations can move into the present, negatively affecting it. He believed that an indication of the spontaneous disclosure of the memory of previous reincarnations is the familiar feeling of deja vu. A situation when a person, getting into an unfamiliar place, suddenly feels that he has been here before, although he has no objective reasons for such feelings. Often this is not just an abstract experience, but quite concrete knowledge. A person can tell with absolute accuracy what and where is located. For example, what color the house will be around the next bend, or what buildings used to stand here. The ancient Greeks said that deja vu can be a spontaneous recollection of fragments of past lives. They believed that the gods had knowledge of previous incarnations, so they could start a new cycle of existence from scratch. However, not all memories were washed away by the river of oblivion, and the soul regained them from time to time. Richard Webster, in one of his books, gave an illustrative example of spontaneous recollection of a past life. One of his acquaintances, sitting on the couch and enjoying the sunset, felt a strange feeling, as if she had fallen through time and space, finding herself in Renaissance Italy. The woman saw herself in a large garden where many lemon trees grew, and she posed for an artist with whom she was secretly in love. This feeling of falling in love, mixed with the incredible scent of the lemon garden, accompanied her even through her reincarnations. As it turned out later in that era, a little-known artist really worked in this garden, who left behind a painting depicting a woman in a lemon garden. Richard Webster himself experienced a similar feeling. He was sitting by the campfire, and women in bright dresses were dancing around. The flashing of the outfits merged with the fire, and he felt a fantastic feeling that once, a long time ago, he had already seen something like this. He said that deja vu is a secret door that hides a real miracle. You only need to gain the courage and knowledge to see the amazing and mysterious world located behind it. Psychologist Frederick Lenz, who has seriously studied survival and spontaneous memories of past lives, noticed that most of these visions can come in a dream or during meditation. In addition, he drew attention to the fact that, immediately before the occurrence of such conditions, people feel that it becomes easier. Bright colors begin to flash before their eyes. A feeling of euphoria and well-being appears. The space around begins to vibrate. The reality becomes more contrasting, and often after such an experience, people become numb for a few moments. And since a person tends to spontaneously recall his past lives, it means that information about them is stored somewhere in his brain or consciousness. But where exactly? This question was answered by the founder of the Theosophical movement, Elena Blavatsky, who believed that in the last moments before death, all the events of life are reproduced in our memory, including those that we have forgotten. When this revision ends, memories of past reincarnations open up to a person for a short time. Elena Blavatsky explained it this way: a person has two types of memory. The first is our ordinary memory, the so-called earthly memory, which is responsible for ensuring that we remember the events of our current life. It can be called the memory of the brain because it stores information about what happens to us in this incarnation. But there is also a second memory, the memory of the soul, a more subtle level, which contains knowledge that goes beyond the physical world. The memory of the soul contains everything that happened to a person in his other reincarnations. These two types of memory are associated with two levels of consciousness. The lowest level is the memory of the brain, and the highest is the memory of the soul. When the events of life are erased from the memory of the brain, they continue to be stored in the memory of the soul. All thoughts that arise in our lower consciousness displace others and settle in the depths of the soul's memory, continuing to affect us from there, although we are not aware of it. It is in the memory of the soul that memories of past lives are contained. Elena Blavatsky noted that even in an insensible state, before death, there comes a moment of clarity of consciousness, which the dying person cannot tell living people about, because on this edge he seems to freeze between two worlds. But because of this, his consciousness experiences a short-term act of enlightenment. The mystery of death is, first of all, the mystery of awakening the higher consciousness and revealing to it all its reincarnations. In the last minutes of life, the memory of the brain and the memory of the soul are reunited for a short time, and the greatest secrets of human existence are revealed to consciousness. At the moment of death, we finally comprehend what our soul really is. It fully opens up, and we can see the true depth of both the universe and our personality, including those aspects of it that go deep into our previous reincarnations. Dear friends, thank you for watching my video to the end. If you liked it, please like it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's very important. Thank you, and have a nice day.